Yeah, you are welcome to another episode of Towards a Better Nigeria, simply trying to do our own part. My name is Monyoluwa Oludevis. Last week we introduced the platform, what we all were all about, what we intend to achieve. And I promised you last week that today we are going to talk about the origin of Africa as a nation. Now, I don't want to go to the new age countries like America that just came recently. Let's dive in deep to countries or continents or people that have been existing for thousands of years before the birth of Jesus Christ. The Chinese historically has been existing for 2070 years before Christ. The Japanese have been existing for 2010 years before Christ. The Koreans 2033 years before Christ. The Indians has an history dated back to 3,300 years before Christ. Now, how long has the African as a continent been existing for? You will not believe if I tell you this, and I'm going to read it directly, the same word for word that I wrote it down here. Africa are the first and oldest population of humans on earth. They have lived for thousands of years in the continent of Africa before eventually some of them, quote me, some of them left the continent to populate other parts of the world. Africans have been existing for thousands of years in the continent of Africa before some of them decided to spread out and became other continents. If you come from Japan, you have your origin in Africa. If you come from Russia, you have your origin in Africa. If you come from America, you have your origin in Africa. Africa is the motherland of all the planet Earth. It's a fact that is known to all. It's a fact that is known to science. It's a fact that is known to civilization. Now, the white men tried to dig down the history of their own existence. And the deeper they go, the more they discovered that they came from Africa. And Charles Darwin, who was born 58 miles away from where I am now, between the year 1809 and 1882, discovered the same history that every part of the world came from Africa. But in his attempt to rewrite the history, he came up with what he called the theory of evolution. And he said, we people in Africa are apes, and we all came from apes. Well, I'm not surprised. Anyone that says his father and his mother is not wise is actually abusing himself. He might come from a family of ape, but I know and I will love everyone to know that Africa, as people, we are the first human on this planet Earth. Adam and Eve, which was created by God, were once and for all settled as Africans. Now, if Africans are the oldest and the first people created by God, where then does slavery comes in? How comes people enslaved Africa? You ask me. Join me next week and we will talk about slavery. Thank you. Together we can make Africa great.